Yeah.
I love to have a question from yesterday. The stories about people giving huge amounts of money and then becoming poor. That's one of Hashem's promises that you won't lose. I will make up what you give in tzedakahs. And how do we square that concept?
You square it, because people can give irresponsibly. The guy that I knew that gave $1 million had a very shaky business to begin with, and he probably overextended himself.
So it's not wish ceiling.
Yeah, Hashem doesn't promise you that if you act like an idiot, you're gonna be okay.
I've proven that before too.
No, we also have this principle that Shomer Pisayim Hashem, that God watches over the foolish, meaning that God, or really the innocent, that, but there are limitations. If a person does something hazardous,
Yes.
He goes, like Norm Macdonald, that Canadian comedian, used to say, like when it comes to rock jumping, what is it called? Where you jump? No, 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 not bungee jumping. It's like where you jump off with a parachute off a cliff.
Mhm.
What is that called? Something jumping. He
Some
said,
extreme sport.
yeah, yeah. He says there's only two outcomes. You either make it down or what's that thing on the rock? So the splat on the rock. Yeah. So we don't recommend that as a. Okay. So we were talking about yesterday about a person who is acting as a shaliach, who receives an envelope filled with cash to bring it to Eretz Yisrael for a certain charity. He has the status of a shomer chinam, and so and if he leaves it in his pocket and he gets pickpocketed, so then he's not going to be responsible, because he's placing the money in a place where he would place his own money. Ulam kishaholech bidrachim bifrat shebaosam hamakomos muchzak lanu sheish kayasim. He says, however, when he's going in places where it is known that there are pickpockets, like if you're walking through the airport and things like that. And I love this. I didn't know the word for pickpocket. The word for pickpocket is a kayas, from the word kis. You're a pocket man. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Pocket man.
Yeah, but a pocket
Yeah, it
man.
sounds like an Elton John song.
Yeah, right. So iminicham bikisim nechshav b'peshia v'chayim. So if you just leave it in your back pocket, then you would be considered to be negligent, because most people would not leave large amounts of cash in their back pocket. Va'osam ksafim o divrei erech shenastam lo b'ma'atafa tzrichim sheyutzerurim munachim biyada ovechego. And so therefore, those like large quantities of cash would need to be either held in your hand or in your breast pocket, so that you know exactly where they are. The kosher rosh hasadin be'ezoro okshurim kiroi al bitno mikineged panav. And therefore you would tie these things either on, or you tie it like with a, gird yourself with it, with your belt, or with some other way that you know for sure you can feel it at all times. So it really depends on the context. It all depends. What is considered to be the normal level of shmira? And if you're not watching it responsibly, so then you might be liable. He says, so first he brings the sources and he says, "Ha'ola ledina bismanenu v'imkein le'inyanenu kol she'en ganavim mitzuyim ba'oso makom im hinichem b'kisem achurayim shal hamichnas kefi shenog bismanenu laniach ksafim sham v'nignavu nira she'enu chayv ela nishba v'niftar b'tashlum." So he says, then you're not going to be liable. Let's see. Right. So he's really quoting all of the traditional poskim. Okay, let's go on. Movil shehizik rahitim. Okay, the moving company that damages my furniture. Movil shemifane dira lahavira lamakom mesuyam. Right. So you have a mover who's moving your items to a new place. Okay. O shaliach shemekabel sachar avor hashlichus. Oh, a person who's acting as a shaliach, who's being paid to do his job of transporting. B'toch kidei nesia o horadas hadvarim meharechev nizoku chelek mehadvarim shahu tzrichim lahagia liya'adam. And over the course of the transport or the moving of the items from removing them or putting them in to the vehicle, some of the items become damaged. So what is the level of liability and what is the halachic responsibility of a mover, a person who's involved with transport, when damage is caused to items? So the answer is Bal Hovala Shemefaneh Dira or Ma'avir Schara Mimakom Lamakom. So anyone who's in this business, O Shaliach Shekibel Lahavir Ezadavar Mesuyam, or anyone who's just a shaliach, he's acting as an agent to transport items. B'toch kidei nesia nizoku chelak mehadvarim, and during the course of the journey, some of these things become damaged. O shenignavu, or they get stolen. Kevin shemekablim schar avur hahovala o hashlichut, since people receive payment. Since you're getting paid for this transport, dinam kishomer sachar, shechayavim bigneva va'aveda. So they have the status of a shomer sachar, that they're liable for theft and for loss. B'kol shekain b'pshia u'shlichus yad. And that's certainly true. They're liable for negligence and for damage that is caused on a more deliberate way. I remember when we moved here from California, I decided I did a favor to a young man who was part of my community, who was in the got into the moving business, but he had never moved anyone cross-border, but he asked if I would give him the business. And I said, yes.
He gave you the business.
And it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. And tons of damage because he was not used to cross-country transport. And so there was so much damage, like just, when you move something cross town, you don't need to secure it as much because it's going a short distance. But if you're traveling 3,000 miles, then over the course of the journey, things are going to break. If you're not, you have to take extra care to secure these items. Dishes, furniture, anything, any type of IKEA type of assembled furniture that's made out of press wood, smithereens. It was just.
Yeah, but they have insurance for that.
Yeah.
Did he have us all the time? I just got in a shipment and had, about a quarter of the boxes were damaged.
Yeah.
So my forward is his name.
Yeah.
And just covered it.
Right.
It's the hassle. Of course it's a hassle.
I held back the last payment. He said, because I said, there was more. The guy that was in charge of driving it across the border was a convicted felon. He couldn't get into Canada. Yeah.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let him in.
They wouldn't let him in. So, and I had to go down to the border twice because of that. The first time they wouldn't let him in because no matter how much I signed for the goods, they wouldn't let him across the border. I mean, it basically shows he was using really shady labor. A lot of my things were stolen. I had left a watch in the transport and it was stolen. Basically, he did everything possible wrong just because he wanted to get the business. But anyway, all right, you live and you learn. Don't do favors for people who are moving your valuables.
I'm wondering, Moshe, with respect to insurance, at some point, if the driver keeps messing up, the insurance won't.
Yeah,
but the end of it.
It's never the same driver, the same anything. It's all.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Companies and different people within the company. And, one is coming on a container and one is, there was a leak. I had another one, like a container leaked. And when we unloaded it, there was mold. And the stuff is, and so the containers are supposed to be sealed. So it's their insurance pays.
Right.
You know, there's 100, but there's, the point is, there's insurance for all transport stuff, for everything.
But it's because the transporter is liable.
Transport is
Yeah.
liable, but as Hal said, it's just a nightmare. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah,
You don't get money for your aggravation.
yeah. ולכן בנידון של המוביל והשליח חייבים לשלם עבור הגנבה או הנזק שנגרם. And therefore, a professional mover or transporter is going to have to pay for these things, for any theft or any damage. Ulam im hamovil o hashaliach toinim she'ira eza ones mesuyam. But they are what's called a shomer sacher. They are a paid guard. So their level of liability is for negligence, theft, and loss through damage. But what if an onus occurs? Meaning the guy was driving, car accident, he hit a deer in the middle of the road, there was just like some completely unstoppable mishap, an act of God, whatever. Yesh lahem lihishava al ta'anasam v'yiftaru mitashlo. So they can take an oath and then they'll be exempt from paying. We don't take an oath these days, but the Beis Din will actually hold them.
Why is that?
That just became the minhag. It just became too awesome for communities to impose. And I guess maybe people saw that people weren't being truthful, so they didn't want to cause people to violate a
It's
shvua.
not on the spiritual level, like always.
Yeah, v'im haya ha'ones b'makom she'efshel lahavi alav edim o davar shehu galui v'yadua shevada yimatze edim harei ze tzarech lahavi raya al tanasa. And in any case where there's evidence that can be brought, either witnesses or forensic evidence to demonstrate that there was clearly an onus that was not avoidable, then he's obligated to do so before he can claim exemption. And if he can't bring witnesses, then he's going to be liable. So in other words, we don't accept a claim of onus just automatically. Oh, there was a deer in the road and I hit the deer and I had to stop abruptly. And because I had to stop abruptly, all of the stuff in the transport, in the container, right, got jostled and got damaged. Sorry, that's not a good enough excuse. Where's the evidence? Do you have a camera that can, was your camera rolling? And can you demonstrate? Maybe you were just, maybe you just had a drink before you started driving and then you started to doze off and then you realized you were about to hit something. So, we don't believe such a claim to exempt you. You have to bring evidence. So that's generally what the Beis Din will require. Has anyone ever tried to get away from paying because of a claim of onus? Usually not. The insurance is not going to.
It's not the claim of onus. What they'll try to do is blame the other person, the other people who loaded it, or the people that made it, who manufactured it. Nothing. We're just the carrier. The stuff was broken when it came on the boat. Like there's a million.
Well,
That's why you have
insurance.
No, that's why we have inspectors when the stuff is loaded to make sure that everything should be done properly. But there's always an excuse. There's always a story. There's always an angle.
If it's an employee of a shop, is it considered honest? Say you pay somebody to do forwarding for you, and their employee did the damage. Right? So it's
not an onus. No, it's not an onus. No. A company that hires employees are responsible for everything that the employees do.
Right.
So the
Like your mover.
yeah, so
driver.
the owner of the company can't say, well, it's not my fault, it's my workers' fault. Yeah.
right.
The company's only as good as the workers.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you do when you open a business and you rely on workers. You're implicitly accepting responsibility for any act of negligence that your workers commit. Okay, next. Nignav miyad hamocher achar hamachira. Okay. So if theft takes place after the sale has already been consummated. So mishamachar chayfetz lachavero b'kinyan gomer. So I make a transaction with a buyer. V'hachayfetz nishar biyad hamocher. But after the contract has been signed for sale, the seller still has the item in his possession and it just needs to be delivered. Okay? And then before the seller has a chance to ship it, it gets stolen. Can the seller claim to the buyer, I'm really sorry, but that your stuff got stolen, but I'm not liable because by then you had already paid for it and you had taken possession of it. So I'm not liable. Does
That even be, I don't even understand that's even a question.
Yeah, well,
Because if you go to Best Buy and you buy a washer and dryer and they're gonna deliver it to you,
right.
and then they call you up and say, you know what, our truck was hijacked on the way over, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah,
Really, sorry. You know, like,
yeah,
this is not even a question, these are not just, no.
right. In today's world, it seems quite obvious that until the goods are delivered, but remember, we learned this before. What if Amazon can say that it was left on your doorstep? I mean, there are gray areas.
That's different.
Okay. What if they deliver it, but leave it at your doorstep and then it gets stolen?
And they do that, but I think they tell you that they're gonna leave it there and that's your, you know, that's why everyone has an app, you have the ring, you can see things outside, even on Shabbos, you can go back and see if someone begun with it. But I go to people's houses on Shabbos, there's like 4 or 5 packages. My kids, they live with Amazon or whatever they're buying from, and there's all these packages. To me, the question is, can you bring it in? Is it looks it?
So
Not if it's stolen.
So if it's already on your property, you have to consider it muktzah in most cases. But what I do, you're allowed to kick or move muktzah with your foot.
Elbow.
Elbow is a little bit more questionable. So what I always do is we have packages that come in on Shabbos.
You would say it's clothing? Something, or it's just because it's not necessary for Shabbos?
The reason it's muktzah is that it may have come from outside the tchum. And also it may have been something that was unexpected. It came into.
But a goy bra, does that make a difference?
No, it doesn't make a difference. It's still.
Amazon, they got like this, they're all like.
It's still considered muktzah in most cases. Usually because of a tchum issue or because it wasn't within your purview from before Shabbos. So for a number of reasons, it could be considered muktzah. But
if you're expecting it and you need it for a Shabbos lunch, it's not.
No, you can't.
So what happens if you're worried about it's gonna get stolen?
That's why the rabbi
So bring it in. Use your, that's why I exercise.
It's the UFC fighting.
That's right. And it's tough because it has to come up a step. So I've already developed a technique, a 2-foot technique. Yeah. And sometimes I need to get one of my kids to help.
That's interesting. I think you do sign like it'll be just dropped off at your door. So there is no.
Well, you never really sign. You're just clicking on stuff and you don't really read it.
I believe it's if you read all the fine print, it'll tell you that they're not stupid, obviously, and not girls. Everybody would claim that their packages are stolen, take it, and then order another one. They claim that was.
They drop it off and take pictures.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's see the answer. Tshuva. Misha mochar ezes chora o chayfetz lachavero b'kinyan gomer, v'haschora o hachayfetz nisharu biyad hamocher. So in a case like this, not like the Amazon package, but the item hasn't even shipped yet. It's still in the possession of the seller. Yesh omrim she'enu chayva filu kishomer chino. Some say that since the buyer has already made a kinyan on it. See, in Amazon, you haven't made a kinyan yet. All you've done is you've clicked that they can charge your credit card. So it's not, no, it's not a kinyan by paying. The Gemara in Bava Metzia says that Mos Konos, that midioraisa, payment of money, is a legal transaction, but the rabbis voided that legal transaction lest the seller say your stuff got burned in while it was still in my possession. So you'd have to make a more substantive kinyan, like you'd have to actually either sign a contract or do a kinyan chalipin, or with a handkerchief, or you'd have to actually lift up the goods in order to actually acquire it, which is unusual. You wouldn't normally do such a thing. But if that's what actually took place, so some say that you wouldn't have to pay for it because the seller is not even a shomer chinam. And therefore the seller would not have to replace the item. We wouldn't have to give him his money back. But he says, but there's another opinion, some say that you're a shomer, the seller is a shomer chinam, and so therefore, as a shomer chinam, he's exempt from theft or loss, but he would not be exempt from negligence. So if he's negligent in the way that he watches it, he would have to pay. So if he leaves the item out in a place where it could easily get stolen, so then he would be liable. We're not going to get into all of the sources because I don't find that this is particularly relevant in our world. But in situations, normally you don't make a kinyan in our world. And it's just blank pages for some reason. Okay.
Robert, just under normal circumstance, we've gone through these questions. If I give someone money to take and they lose it, so that's it, you're out of pocket and that's the end of it?
So that's what we just saw. I give someone money. I actually was asked to transport a set of keys for someone, which I'm sure is valuable. I mean, it's not like it has no value, even though you can always redo keys to take it from his. And I actually I misplaced the keys. It was during the war, like in 2015, I think it was. And it was just a crazy time that I was in the middle of you saw this, the Iron Dome blowing up things right over your head. And it was just like, and so I felt terrible and I offered to pay for it, but the people said, no, it's okay.
Yeah, but keys is not, it can be replaced and go get a new key.
Yeah.
I'm talking.
But if you send, like Wayne said that someone just gave him an envelope full of cash. So you have to do what would be called, what would a normative level of shmira be for that? That's really for the Beis Din to make a determination. You put it in what would you do with that amount of money? So normally you would say that once you're on the road, if it's $10,000, let's say, you'd want to keep that money on your person. You wouldn't just stick it into your luggage, right? And let it just go through.
Right.
So you'd want to keep it on you, just like you'd watch your
passport,
your passport,
your wallet, your own,
right, and your own wallet.
So, but if it gets stolen, robbed, that's it. It's just.
So if you get robbed and they take your wallet and the cash,
that's it.
So you're putter, because you were a shomer chinam. The person who's transporting it is a shomer chinam.
Shomer sacher, you get robbed.
Shomer sacher, it depends. The shomer sacher is liable for geneva v'aveda. So if the guy's being paid, so then as a professional transporter, he has a higher level of liability.
That's just personal. Like someone just takes it, they get robbed. You're not getting paid, so I guess you're a shomer chinam.
You're not getting paid, you're a shomer chinam. If you're getting paid, you have a higher level of shmira. So if you get robbed, it depends how you get robbed. If it's getting robbed at gunpoint, so then that's called an onus. And so even a shomer sacher will be pater.
And if someone breaks into your hotel room before you deliver the money, that also considered an onus?
No, that's not an onus. That's
not an onus.
That's geneva. And so a shomer sacher is going to be liable.
So before taking money for somebody, even if, you know, you gotta think twice, the level of what
You
you're.
can tell them if it gets stolen.
Yeah, right, you can negotiate
Tell
the
them, I'll do
terms.
this favor for you, but on the condition A, B, and C, you can obviously make tonight and.
You can make tonight, you can say, first of all, I want $100 for my effort. Cause I'm gonna have to, as soon as I get into town, I don't wanna be stuck with $10,000 of cash, I wanna go to the beach, right? So it's gonna cost me a few $100 to get the money to you right away. So I expect to be compensated for whatever costs I incur. So then you become now a shomer sacher. You could potentially be a shomer sacher, not necessarily. If the person is just covering your transport costs, then you're not a shomer sacher, you're still a shomer chinam because you're not making any money off of it. But if you're getting compensated for your time, so then you're a shomer sacher.
But at one time in South Africa, you only have a certain amount of money that you can take out of the country.
Yes,
So people give you money to take out and pay you a commission to bring it out of the country for them. So
Yeah.
then you're getting paid to do it.
so you're a shomer sacher. Right, and they used to take out diamonds, I understand.
I was once given a package and so don't ask what it is, just take it out. And it was done.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get a commission?
No, it was for a good friend.
Okay,
Are you still a good friend?
We are.
You good?
But living Toronto.
Forever.
so this new section is going to deal with employment law, the laws of workers. And this is going to be relevant for you, Moish, as well. Like workers who use, the first shiloh that we're going to get into is workers who use the employer's facilities and items that the owner owns. Like what what things can an employee take without asking? And what are things the employee has to get permission for using? Yeah.
Actually, when you make a transaction with a credit card, it's not considered a Kenyan.
It's not a
It's
Kenyan.
not a Kenyan because there's no direct transfer, especially if it's done on the computer. If it's done right in front of you,
Right.
it's still not because the payment's not.
But remember, you'd have to follow Dina de Malchusa. Whatever the law of the land is, if the law of the land says that you can cancel a credit card transaction, which many times you can't, so then it's certainly not a Kenyan. But let's say the website says or the merchant says
Final sales,
final sale. Once we do this,
that's it.
there's no takebacks. Yeah,
That's a Kenyan.
yeah. Exactly. Okay, so
I
we'll,
think that a Visa payment would be Kenyan. Like any payment, it's in your head, you would think it's a Kenyan,
Well, supply.
but it's also not. It's not.